Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I am excited to talk about something that I think is fun called parasites. And this is really important because about a third of my clients have a parasite that's definitely affecting their sleep. And for me, this was a big part of why I couldn't sleep as well. So we can get parasites anywhere, even in Western first world countries like Giardia, for example, is in almost all water across the United States. I got a parasite called Blastocystis hominis that I've actually seen in a few of my clients. And most of them have spent some time traveling out of the country in third world countries. So we can probably get this one in the United States as well. But a lot of times these things come from traveling and drinking contaminated food and water. And I do want to point out that, some people say everyone has a parasite. We have parasites, and that is likely true. They are in small amounts, very small amounts in our bodies. But it's when they are able to take hold, it's when they are able to grow and multiply and persist in the gut and then spread to other parts of the body that it can become really problematic and cause a lot of damage in different systems in the body. So that's what I want to talk about today is the many different systems that parasites affect and how it affects sleep in so many different ways. A lot of it does have to do with the gut, but not all of it. So we will start off by talking about the gut, though. So, what a parasite does, and first I should say that it is kind of a chicken and an egg situation, right? Where, I mean, ideally, a healthy gut wouldn't let a parasite take hold, but then a parasite can also damage the gut and lead to an unhealthy gut. So, we'll never really know which came first, but I don't find that relevant because if I see that my client has a parasite in the GI map, the stool test that I do, then I know that it's an issue. If it is, prevalent enough that it is showing its DNA is showing up in a stool sample. So, the first ways the parasite affects the body is definitely in the gut. And what it's going to do is it physically damages the gut wall. And so that is going to lead to inflammation in the gut, which can transfer to the brain, which can transfer to other parts of the body. And that inflammation can cause high cortisol at night, which because cortisol is an anti inflammatory hormone. So, whenever there's inflammation, your body's going to release cortisol. And also, parasites and other pathogens are most active at night. So that's when they are eating and excreting and releasing a lot of toxins and causing all this inflammation. So they're definitely causing this high cortisol at night, which is going to wake you up, right? Cortisol gives us energy, it helps us focus and concentrate. So this is why you could be waking up at 3 and 4 in the morning and have a really hard time falling back asleep because you feel wired. Even though you're tired, it's like your brain or your body just won't shut off and let you sleep. And that can be because of that cortisol. So, another thing that happens as the parasite damages the gut is that will decrease the amount of good bacteria in your gut. And that can lead to a lack of neurotransmitters because the good bacteria are responsible for making up to 90% of our neurotransmitters. So, serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, GABA, all of these things that help us feel good, feel calm, feel relaxed so that we can sleep. So, you really need enough good bacteria in the gut to make those neurotransmitters. And a parasite is decreasing those good bacteria. Now, another thing that happens when the gut wall gets damaged is that we don't absorb nutrients from food as well. And so that is going to lead to nutrient deficiencies. You're not getting the nutrients you need from food, and that can lead to mineral imbalances. And different mineral imbalances can directly cause insomnia as well. So, whether calcium, magnesium are higher than sodium, potassium, or vice versa, either one of those patterns can definitely, you know, cause insomnia. And so if you aren't absorbing nutrients from food, then you're more likely to be lacking in some of these minerals. Now, another thing that happens when minerals are out of balance is that then heavy metals, your body holds on to heavy metals. So heavy metals in the body increase. And that's because we need minerals for a lot of different functions in the body. And if they aren't there, then the body will use heavy metals because different heavy metals can do, say, 20% of the job of certain minerals. So even though they're toxic, our body's going to hold on to them because they need them to do some of these functions. Our body's always going to try to be in balance. So even if, especially in the moment, so even if it's causing negative effects in the long term, it's going to say, hey, I need that mercury, I need that arsenic because I don't have enough of these other minerals to complete these functions in the body. So heavy metals can build up in the body, they can accumulate in the brain and the liver, so that can lead to neurological issues including insomnia, brain fog, and are going to put an extra burden on the liver. And so all of that is going to lead to insomnia. And so all of these things are from the gut being damaged. Now, another component of this, another thing that a parasite does, so when your body is constantly releasing cortisol to deal with this parasite, cortisol is going to get out of whack. So at first, it's probably going to be really high, especially at night, like I already talked about. And so your pattern's gonna be out of whack. So this can lead to, it's high at night, so you aren't sleeping well, and then it's lower during the day, so you don't have a lot of energy. Or if your energy is fluctuating at different times, it can mean that your cortisol pattern isn't ideal. Because ideally, cortisol is lowest first thing in the morning, then it spikes to its highest point within 2 hours of waking up, and then it gradually goes down throughout the day. So a lot of times my clients, especially if they have a parasite, their cortisol is through the roof at bedtime or through the roof in the middle of the night, and it totally explains why they aren't sleeping well. And then what happens when over time when your body has to constantly make cortisol to deal with the stress and inflammation is it's going to become depleted over time. And this is also going to affect our sex hormones because cortisol and our sex hormones, such as estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they're all steroid hormones. So they all use the same resources. So if your body's constantly focused on making cortisol to deal with stress and inflammation, it's going to take those resources away from your sex hormones where our bodies are always going to prioritize what it sees as survival or balance in the moment versus like reproduction. That's not as important if you are trying to survive in the moment. So it's going to take those resources away from the sex hormones. And low estrogen, low progesterone can directly cause insomnia for men and women. So again, this is another way how a parasite's affecting cortisol, which is then affecting your sex hormones. Now, a parasite's also going to put an extra burden on your liver. So remember, I said that they release all these toxins when they are eating and excreting, and our liver has to deal with all the toxins. So not just from parasites, but from, the toxins in our food and water, the toxins we're exposed to in our personal care products and our cleaning products. And so a healthy liver can deal with a certain amount of toxins, but if you're adding the toxins from a parasite on top of that, then it can easily overwhelm the liver. And the liver is also most active at night. So that is when it is trying to deal with all these toxins. And if there are more toxins than it can handle, they end up circulating around and then causing this inflammation, causing your body to release cortisol. So parasite's kind of a double whammy as far as contributing to cortisol. Like it directly is causing high cortisol at night, and then that extra burden on the liver is also causing high cortisol at night. And all of these things are going to affect your sleep. Now, another component of it adding an extra burden on your liver is because then what happens is that you don't detoxify hormones properly. So, our liver also is responsible for breaking down and getting rid of hormones in the body. So, a lot of times, what I see is something called estrogen dominance. So, this is when estrogen is higher than progesterone in women and higher than testosterone in men. And estrogen dominance can directly cause insomnia as well. So, as you can see, it's not as simple as just getting rid of a parasite because by the time you've had a parasite for who knows how many years, I think I got mine traveling in Nepal and India 13 years before I developed insomnia, 13 years before I even knew that I had a parasite. So it's causing all these different effects, all this damage in your body, affecting not only your gut, but also hormones, also your liver function, also mineral balance. And so it's going to take more than just, we can't just kill the parasite and expect that everything is going to immediately get better. Now, it can help over time if you know how to support your body, support your hormones, support your liver, deal with the nutrient deficiencies, deal with the heavy metals. So, yeah, it just ends up being more complicated than just saying, let's address the parasite. Now I should be sleeping well. So that's why in my program, I'm looking at all of these different systems in the body. If I could just address a parasite and just address gut health, that would be amazing. It would be so much easier and less expensive and it wouldn't take as long. But unfortunately, gut health affects so many different systems in our body that we really need to look at the big picture of how everything in your body's working. Because it's going to take you a lot longer to get better from a parasite if you aren't also supporting liver, supporting hormones, looking at all of these things. All right. I hope that this is as fascinating for you as it is for me. I love talking about parasites. I know some people get grossed out, but I was so excited actually when I found out I had a parasite because it explained why I wasn't sleeping. So that's what all the tests did. Instead of getting freaked out by everything that was out of balance, I was like, oh, this is great. I have things to address. Like now I have information, I have data to work with. And then I have a plan to get these things back in balance so that I can sleep normally. And it can be this way for you too. This is exactly what we do in the complete sleep solution is we do 4 different tests to find out how all the different systems in your body are working or what's not working properly. And then we give you a step-by-step plan to get everything back in balance so that you can sleep normally. You can book a consultation with me. The link to that is in the show notes. And otherwise, I will see you next week.